Hey neighbor, should you be concerned about what vegetable seeds you buy to plant in your garden? Well, yes, you should. Today we're going to help you clarify what seeds you should buy for your vegetable garden and how you should choose those. I spend a lot of my time visiting trials, looking at different varieties, growing, comparing them to other varieties, talking to seed breeders about new varieties. It's something that I do almost on a daily basis. So I feel like I may have a little bit of an insight on this right here, and I want to help you today clarify on why you should be growing certain varieties and maybe why you shouldn't be concerned about varieties on some types of vegetables. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is bulbing onions, and particularly short day onions. We've got two rows here of two different varieties. This row right here is Texas 1015 Super Sweet. What a name. Wonderful onion, been around for a long time. And this, my folks, is one called Vidora. This is a newer variety right here. Now, we sell way more 1015 Super Sweet than we do Vidora. Vidora is a superior variety, and you could look here at these two rows and tell a huge difference in these onions. These are a lot greener, the plants are a lot bigger, putting on more leaves. It is a better onion compared to 1015. The seed cost on these Vidoras are 10 times the amount of what this 1015 is because it's a newer variety and it took a certain amount of money to develop this variety here. But my point is, just because the name is wonderful doesn't always mean that the plant is the best. Vidora hits a home run for me. It is the best short day onion I have seen out there, and that's the reason we sell a lot of them. But strictly because of the name, and it's been around for a long time, the 1015 outsells it. My point is, take in consideration these newer varieties a lot of times will perform better. They cost more, of course, but they will perform a lot better than some of these older varieties. Now let's talk about collards. Our best-selling collard is Top Bunch, which is a hybrid variety. It's fairly expensive. It is a great collard. It's uniform, and if you're a commercial grower, by all means, you should be growing Top Bunch. But let's look at a couple heirloom collards, and this one right here is Alabama Blue. We also got one called Moore's Heading, which some of you may recognize as the old cabbage collard. But this right here, to me, is worthwhile growing in the garden compared to the Top Bunch because this one is so unique with the purple in there, and this old heirloom variety, to me, has a little bit better flavor maybe than the Top Bunch does. Does it grow as uniform as the Top Bunch? No, but for a garden variety, I think this is a winner right here, and this is the heirloom variety, the Alabama Blue. So sometimes it does make a huge difference, sometimes it does not. Collards for me is one of them kind I do love growing, the heirloom types. Let's talk about beets. There've been a lot of new varieties of beets developed and introduced over the years. Now for the beet farmer, it's important to have a lot of consistency and non-cracking with the beets. For the home gardener, I'm not seeing any of these varieties really stand out. The two old varieties, Detroit Red and Merlin, to me is as good as any beets out there. And from the home garden standpoint, I think they're both winners. Now let's talk about green beans. Green beans have a lot of name recognition. You probably got a favorite variety that you grew or your grandfather grew. Blue Lake is really popular. Jade's popular up north, and these are okay varieties. There's better varieties out there nowadays, and the one is Hall's Green Blaze bean. By far is a superior variety over any of those others in my opinion. It's consistent, it's got a good bush to it, and the pod size is very consistent. Green, and it's the most heat tolerant green bean that I know out there. It performs well every time. So in the case of the green beans, I think they are a superior variety, and Green Blaze meets all the qualifications. Yellow squash, there's been a lot of new yellow squash varieties over the years. The one you're probably familiar with is the one your granddaddy grew, which is early crookneck. It's the old bumpy crookneck. It's okay, but it by far is not the best variety out there. One of my favorite ones is called Gentry. Some of these newer varieties, they still have that wonderful flavor, but they have enhanced disease resistance, therefore making it easy to grow for you, the home gardener. So Gentry in my book's a big winner. Well, we got to talk tomatoes, and let's talk paste tomatoes first. Amish paste is one of the most popular paste type tomatoes we sell. Old OP variety. It's got great name recognition, Amish paste, but they are way better varieties out there. We got a variety called Shelby, one called Taki. Man, both of these blows Amish paste out of the water. Yes, they cost more, but way more productive. Man, the bush size is good. It's got a lot of foliage on there. Taki has root knot nematode resistance. So we got the good disease package with both of these, and they're way more productive than the old variety of Amish paste. Well, on slicing tomatoes, there's probably been more headway made in that category than probably any other category because we love slicing tomatoes. One of the old varieties you're probably familiar with is Rutgers. That's an old variety I can remember when I was a kid. Everybody loved to plant plant, and it's still around today. We sell a decent amount of them, but man, have they been some huge improvements over tomatoes. I'm gonna give you a couple of varieties here. Red Snapper, Halcinator. Halcinator is probably my favorite. It's a heat set variety. It's got great flavor, and it will beat Rutgers every day on how much it produces, taste, and how easy it is to grow. Well, with sweet corn, people get hung up on those varieties that Granddaddy grew, or they grew years ago. Peaches and Cream is our #1 selling bicolor corn, and it's our #1 selling sweet corn, period. Well, what a name, Peaches and Cream. It's an old variety, been around for a long time. There's better varieties out there. We got Seminole XR, that's a newer variety. Way better corn than what Peaches and Cream is. It's got good stalk to it. It makes well. The tips fill out. It's easy to grow. It's a better corn. It's got better flavor profile. We also got Honey Select, which is a newer yellow corn. Sweet, easy to grow. And these are way superior varieties than some of those old ones. And look here, I grew Silver Queen for years, fed my family on it. It's a wonderful corn, but it's one of those older corns that we should be moving on to some of these newer varieties because they're just so much better. Now, field corn, or our grinding corns, are one of those. I stick to those heirloom varieties. These new hybrids are way more productive than the heirloom field corns, but taste to me is a big determining factor there, and easy to grow. These old heirloom field corns are easier to grow, more forgiving, and I just love that complex flavor of those heirloom field corn. Example, there's Hickory King. We got Trucker's Favorite, white and yellow. These are superb varieties that I love to grow. If you're gonna grow field corn, I definitely recommend going one of these heirlooms types. Side note is Jimmy Red that I love, red corn. Kind of short on it this year. Our breeder had a failure crop on that. Bloody Butcher, we're going to be carrying that. But there's some great heirloom corns that to me just outmatches on the flavor profile of the new hybrid. Now, let's talk about broccoli for a minute, because there's been a lot of good breeding done on broccoli. The old variety called Wathrop, that is an old heirloom type, is one of the most popular broccolis out there. Man, we got some way better varieties. Green Magic is a great one because it's got good heat tolerance to it. Makes a bigger head than the old heirloom variety. And Godzilla, which is one of my favorites, makes a huge head, very productive, got good disease resistance. So for broccoli, I prefer some of the newer varieties such as Green Magic, such as Eastern Crown, and such as Godzilla. Now with lettuces, that's something I don't see a lot of difference in varieties. Probably one of the oldest varieties out there is Black Seeded Simpson variety. There are some newer varieties that have different textures, such as Butter Crunch and some of the newer romaines. But on lettuces, I'd recommend you growing the type of lettuce or the type of leaf you want. If you got a preference for a romaine, for a loose head or for a tighter head, I would pick my lettuces according to that. Now, there are some minor differences in some of these newer varieties. Myrrh, for example, is slower to bolt, a little more heat tolerant than the rest of it, but I'm not seeing a huge difference in lettuce varieties out there as far as how they grow off. So lettuce is one that I don't make a lot of difference in varieties there. I pick the type of lettuce that we prefer to eat. Well, we got to talk about okra, because everybody in the South loves to grow okra. One of the most popular varieties out there is Clemson Spineless. You'll find it everywhere. But there's new, better varieties out there. We have Jambalaya. That's a huge seller for us, but I'm going to tell you about Jambalaya. Jambalaya will outproduce any of the rest of them 2 to 1, but it's not very forgiving. If you're not going to harvest it on an every other day schedule like you should, you don't want to grow jambalaya, because it will get long and it will get tough if you don't harvest it right. It's highly productive. The plant don't get very big, and I love that about it, but it's not very forgiving on the harvest intervals there. Clemson Spineless is more forgiving. It produce as much. Another variety I really love is Red Burgundy. It kind of meets in the middle of those right there. So red okra turns green when you cook it, but it's a great pickling variety. So it's according to what that fits into your gardening schedule. Do you need one that's more forgiving? Well, plant the old varieties out there, Clemson Spineless. If you really want to kick up your game, try that jambalaya. Now, peppers is one. They've been a lot of new varieties introduced over the years. Peppers, we need to look at disease resistance. We need to look at how much they produce. And that's the reason we introduced the Halcinator Bell series and the Jalapeno. Those are great disease-resistant varieties that do well in our area, plus they produce a lot. Some of these old varieties that went by the wayside, they just don't produce near as much as these newer varieties do. Now, these new varieties, of course, cost more, but they're way more productive. They make a bigger bell pepper, bigger jalapeno, disease resistance, more productive, easier to grow. So on peppers, I would definitely stay away from my heirloom type, go with these new types. We got a new one called Raha. This is Cheyenne pepper. Man, I love that variety. It just loads up, easy to grow, great growth for a container. It's one of those newer varieties that has really come out and done well. So peppers is one that I really pay attention to get good newer varieties that's productive and easy. Now there's probably a watermelon variety that spurs up in your memory, that brings back good thoughts from back in the day. I know my grandpa grew Congo, which is old heirloom variety, and I remember, and I have great thoughts about it. Congo is not one of the better varieties nowadays. There is a lot better improved varieties than what we used to have. I'm going to mention a few to you here. Sangria, Sweetie Pie, Jamboree. These varieties are new varieties that have a lot better disease resistance, because watermelons are prone to get disease. Plus they're sweeter in flavor, which is a big thing there. Have a higher sugar content. So they are a lot better varieties than some of the old ones that our grandfather used to make, grow. A lot of improvements there. Sangria, oh, it's probably my favorite. It's that bigger watermelon, and I love it. So maybe that'll help you understand seeds a little bit. We're always adding new varieties, and sometimes we drop varieties as well. The main thing we look for in a seed variety for you, the home gardener, is flavor. Why grow something if it's not good? That's the number one thing we look for, and then after that we start looking at how it produces, disease resistance, and all that. But rest assured, we put a lot of emphasis on seed selection out there, and you need to also pay attention to get varieties that will grow well for you.